Randi Barry. So Tegan's going to bring her up for me. But just while Randy's still coming, I will say it wasn't until I actually sought out mentoring. Like my first business wasn't doing too well, if I recall. It started off good. It grew really fast. I had no processes and systems in place at all. I then went away and here we go. I got this. I then went away for a little while, and when I came back, I noticed my business was just trajecting down. It was then when I was like, you know what, I need a mentor, someone to help me, because this business is no longer fun because it's costing me so much money. So I invested in a mentor, and it was from then, that moment, that I think it was what I needed was revenue. I needed money because I was putting into the business. I found myself a fabulous mentor. And then within 3 months, I'd increased revenue by 32%, which was great. And then from there, I haven't looked back. And so now I've found that my friendship groups have definitely changed along the way as I succeed and start new businesses. It's just not the space that they're in anymore. And I want to surround myself with people that are ambitious like I am, because we generally have similar interests and drive. And when other people want to go and party on the weekends or, you know, go away, we are still working on Sundays, albeit not all day, because we like to have that balance, but we love to work and we love to learn. So it's just a different space. So what Jolene had said in the last part there was find yourself a mentor or a support person that helps you be the best version of yourself, but ideally someone that's already walked in the path that you're traveling. And for me, that's the best advice I could absolutely give as well to anybody that's wanting to level up. Speaking of leveling up though, we've got Randi Barry here. Hey, Randi.
Hi.
We've got your
Thank
voice.
You so much.
I don't know, this is the first time I've met you, although we spoke on the phone over the last few days. You've been traveling all over the world with the yachting space.
Yes.
Yes, and you've just got back to Fort Lauderdale, so thankfully we've got you back so we can have a piece of you today. You're a entrepreneur as well. You've got one very successful business, and I already can see the other ones going that way as well. So you've just launched a clothing range as well for the yachting industry. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your two businesses?
Yeah, so thank you so much. It was amazing to listen to you guys talk. That's going to be a hard act to follow, but so I initially actually joined the yachting industry to pay for fashion school. I had applied to go to Parsons in Paris. And when they told me what the tuition was, I was like, no way I'm going to make this happen. So I deferred for a year, and I just thought, how can I make the most amount of money in the smallest amount of time, you know, using the time that I have in 1 year. And that was this industry I heard about before is going to work on board yachts as a stewardess. So I applied and I got a job, and it just seemed like everything fell into place. I went and worked on this boat for 1 year, and the boat actually ended up traveling over to the south of France, which is perfect because I just got on a train and went up to Paris. So that was kind of how like these two worlds really came together for me. And at first, yachting was really a means to an end. But after finishing my studies, I went back to yachting to make more money, you know, to put in to eventually start my business. And for me, met so many amazing people in this industry, and your network is definitely so huge. Like they say, your network is your net worth. And I've really come to have such a passion for the yachting industry. So through all of this, I worked my way up to chief stew, and then ended up going land-based to do recruitment, helping people find jobs on board yachts. And I always knew like I had this dream in me to do my fashion line, but I knew it wasn't the right time. And I think that timing a lot of times has to do with everything, with success, and knowing that I was going to be able to be set up, because fashion is such a rich kid's game. I wanted to make sure that I was set up financially so that I could support the starting up of that business. So that's kind of how these two worlds came together. And it's been amazing because I've had access to, you know, these millionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires who, you know, I'm not like straight away like, hey, here's my idea. But, you know, after a while, you know, you start talking to them and they ask you about your passions and asking them advice. And it's really amazing. It's been amazing to be able to ask these incredibly, wealthy and successful people, their advice and their tips and everything. So it's a great little marriage.
It sounds amazing. You're talking about Paris and the south of France and, going in this yachting industry and, schmoozing with millionaires and billionaires. So you're making us all just go, wow, that sounds like amazing.
It's a crazy world. It's wild. I'm just this kid from Vancouver Island in Canada. I have like 30,000 people in my hometown. I just started working at this yacht club to pay for college, and then met all these yachts coming in and was like, what are you guys doing? And they told me about yachting. I was like, this is a joke, right? Like, you can't be serious. They pay you to travel around the world. Like, no way, this is real. So yeah, I've definitely just been a curious person. And I think that following these little paths has really helped.
And you've mentioned like you kept going back to yachting a few times to get more money, I guess, or seed money to then launch some of your businesses. Why are you going back to the yachting? The income is good, the tips, the travel, the connections. What was the primary reason?
Yeah, I feel like all of those things, they call it the golden handcuffs. My husband is also a captain, so it was really easy, when COVID hit, for him to be like, hey, let's put, your fashion thing aside for now, because I was about to start it. He's like, why don't you come work with me on the boat? So I was his chief stew for like about a year in 2020. It's just so easy to keep going back to, because it is such good money. And, they pay for your living, they pay for your toothbrush, your toothpaste. You don't have to buy deodorant, nothing, shampoo and conditioner. Like, it's really, they make it easy to go back to. So I definitely did have to make sure that what I'm going land-based for is something that I'm passionate and that I love.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty exotic lifestyle. I'm sure it's not all amazing. I know there's some dodgy characters out there on those boats. With money can sometimes come some unpleasant experiences. But more importantly, I could talk to you for hours. I want to know who you've seen. I want to know about all these celebrities that you've met and blah, 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 but maybe another time. Tell us a little bit about, so you've worked in this industry. It's obviously a really good lifestyle. You make amazing connections through that way. And I find when you meet these celebrities, millionaires and billionaires, they're generally entrepreneurs or they have really good connections. And that's why they have so much knowledge to help you when you run them. When you run your business idea past them, they can actually give you some ideas or connections or even direction. All of it helps, right? And when you sit there and soak it up.
Yeah.
So the first business you started after kind of not really leaving the yachting industry, but leaving your position as a chief stew, you created your Nautic Nomad business, right?
Yeah. And you know what, that was really a pivot, because that's something where I started this business, and initially I meant it to be a website that had crowdsourced information for the yachting world. And because I am not I studied graphic design in college, but not computer programming. And this is a lesson I learned: to be able to do every single part of your business is really helpful, although you don't want to, because you want to leverage your time for money. But because I didn't understand like the software, the back end, the website ended up being something that was going to be needing to be constantly updated and very expensive to maintain. And I just had no idea really what these people were telling me. You know what I mean? So that was a really big lesson for me. So that I did pivot with my business to helping my online presence direct my ideal audience, which was yacht crew. Over the years, I've had an Airbnb, and I've used it to like advertise that. And then now I'm doing crew recruitment, which is something that I was trained in. I had a mentor and like worked for another company since 2016. So that's something that is really fulfilling to me in one way, because I'm helping people find their dream jobs, and I'm helping captains and, yacht owners find their dream people. And it really feels like matchmaking in a way. And also with that business, I'm not propositioning yacht crew for their money. I'm like solving big, expensive problems for people. And I find that the bigger the problem is, the higher ticket item you can charge. And I'm not trying to proposition like a whole bunch of people for a smaller amount of money, which is obviously like one way to do it, but to really help, a handful of clients that I have seasonally to find the perfect people and the perfect fits for them. It works really well. And also where I live, permanently in Fort Lauderdale. It's like the yachting capital of the world. So it's kind of nice for networking, and it's all about my network, really. It's when you're a recruiter, it's all about who you know. All of my captains who I started out with, who used to be my chief officers or deckhands with me, now they're chief officers and captains, and they don't necessarily know who's coming up through the ranks. So, me being here in Fort Lauderdale is really helpful to, introduce them to people.
Well, it's interesting how we've met, because you have a friend that worked with Lauren, who's my bestie, who also worked in the yachting industry. And those two had connected and recommended you reach out to me. And then here we are. So it's kind of all that second degree. So the network does matter, and you never know where it's going to lead. But going back to your business, so you've mentioned that higher value items or higher ticket items is the focus that you're going for, to obviously generate a significant revenue. But how have you, or what strategies have you implemented to overcome sort of any confidence issues or self-doubt when projecting these price points to these big organizations and companies, or even when you first started your company?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky that I was mentored, and I kind of got to see what people do and what's out there, and helping people in that way. It gave me a lot of confidence because I did it, because, I was doing like $250,000 of sales, of placements per year. I could see, okay, this is something that I can do. This is something that I've been trained to do. And, if you don't, like they say, if you don't build your own dream, you'll get paid to build somebody else's. So that helps. Also in my fashion business, because it's just me, going out there, I've had another person do one-on-one coaching with me, which I feel is really helpful. And she helped me visualize my higher self and my future self and the person that I want to be. So that's really helped, also with manifesting, feeling what she feels like. What is she wearing? How is her nails done? What does her hair look like? What car does she drive? What does she do every day when she wakes up in the morning? And like the routines and like those little things that help you every single day. When you make a promise to yourself, like, I'm going to go to the gym today. And if you break that promise, that breaks your confidence in yourself. But if I keep that promise to myself, I build confidence in myself. So it's like these little things. I've created this character of who I want to be. And I'm not so attached to her because I feel like she's somebody else in a way, but I just wake up every morning and I'm like, be that girl. Like, I don't want to go to the gym, but I want to be that girl that goes to the gym. Yeah. So I'm going to be like, I'm a little gym girl today, So I kind of play this character, and I try to connect with her and feel what she's feeling and try to embody that.
I had a new mentor just recently as well. And it was one of the things that she put me through was this visualization and this feeling of who am I trying to reach? So for me, it was about my target audience and understanding who is she, how old is she, what does she do in the morning, and like literally, role playing someone else. So I'm having to put a whole persona on and visualize who I'm helping. So a bit like where you want to, you're visualizing where you want to be. And it's something we teach as mentors and business owners anyway, because you need to know your destination and you need to know what it looks like, and discipline and confidence and network will help you get there. But also it's a really good tool to visualize and understand your clients' needs and destination so that you can actually help get them there, I guess, find the results and solutions for them. So yeah, I love that you're doing that. What's not the name of the coach, but is there a specific style of coach, or is it just a standard business mentor that's helped you with this visualization and
So her name is Cherie, and I'm not sure of like the style of coaching that it is. And I have a coach for my fashion business who she owns a factory and a clothing line and, everything. So it's like really easy to like look to her for guidance in the fashion world because she's successful in the fashion world. And then my friend Cherie, she's actually from Australia as well. New Zealand. But she's amazing.
Totally different. We do have New Zealand on the line as well, by the way. So they're probably quite, I don't know if they're happy or offended as well. Everyone thinks that I feel like we're related anyway, Australians and New Zealand Kiwis. So It's all good. So, okay, so you've got some really good support and some coaches, and you obviously see the value in that. And I'm a big believer of it too. And I got that, I think, from Richard Branson. When I read one of his books, I've seen him on stage and he was talking about, he's given me heaps of lessons that I've taken away actually. But one of them was definitely either employing people that are smarter than you, which that's easy, or, hiring a mentor that, is somebody that has been and walked the path that you have. And the very first time I did it, I took it really easy. I had a friend who was quite successful, owns a not-for-profit organization, had money, which is obviously something I would like. We all want to have financial goals as well. It was a beautiful person. I thought, you seem to have it all together and I want to learn from you. And it's the husband of one of my good friends. And so I just went up to him and said, hey, would you mind having a coffee with me someday? I'm looking for a mentor, but I would just like to talk to you about just business and how you do it all. And he was like, sure, I don't know how I could help. So it didn't cost me anything other than to pay for a coffee and sit down and have this conversation. And that's where it built my confidence. But it was a really good, it's just something so simple, asking a question, someone saying yes. And then that took me down the pathway of getting business mentor. So then I shifted into my own field and space and then started going to fundraisers and again, trying to build this network in different areas, which you say, you just never know when an opportunity will present. And right at the beginning, you said, I had a business idea and I launched a platform and then, next minute, you've moved your platform, you've completely changed the style of business you wanted because from whatever influences and knowledge you were learning at the time, you've pivoted business to get where I guess you are today, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to go back to this yachting industry before we hit the clothing line. It is a male dominant industry. Tell me a little bit about how you found working in that sort of an industry, but also how do the women work together to help each other, progress and grow and connect?
Yeah, it really is a male-dominated industry. And I feel like it's one of the last industries where you have to put your photo on your resume. It's bizarre. It feels a bit like Hollywood or a modeling agency, but we navigate it, I feel, carefully and together. And we do have, there's a few things that are popping up now. I just went to something the other day in West Palm at the West Palm Beach Boat Show called Women in Yachting. It was like a little breakfast brunch vibe put on by Rose Dahman, who is, from what I understand, the only female yacht builder in the world. She's third generation yacht builder of these incredible boats, these Dahman boats. They're expedition vessels. They're incredible. So that's really great. We kind of all go there and help each other. And I saw Lauren and I saw Gemma there as well. And it feels really cool to go to these things and see, because women are really pigeonholed in our industry. You're either a stew, and then by the time you're like 30, if you're like not a chief stew, people really want to age you out of the industry at 30, which is crazy because for men, they can go on much longer, becoming engineers and captains. And there is not that many female. I think I only know of one female engineer and a handful of female captains. So yeah, it's very male dominated, and we just kind of stick together and we try to help each other as much as we can. So when you're coming up through the ranks, on the really large vessels, there will be a huge interior team. Maybe you'll have 5 housekeeping stews, 5 service stews. You'll have your second and your chief stew, and then there'll be a purser on top of that. So the purser's role was traditionally built for the captain's wife, but now like it's its own thing with rotation and everything. So I feel like, something that, especially the Yacht Stew, her name is Gemma at the Yacht Stew, what they're doing is amazing, like mentoring women, helping girls get their courses and excel in their careers. So we have lots of acronyms. There's YPY, there's the USSA Association. We had an Inspire initiative also at the West Palm Beach Boat Show where there was a bunch of speakers. And, guys will say, oh, that's so weird. Like if there's a women in yachting thing, or that this event is just for women. Like, what if we started like a men in yachting thing? And I just said, well, that's just yachting. that's just that's just yachting. Like, it's so male dominated as it
Mhm.
is. I was really lucky actually to work for, I think I've worked for 2 female yacht owners during my time on board as crew, and that was also just really encouraging to see as well.
Yeah, it must be a really hard space to operate in, and because there's not many high profile positions for women to strive to be in. As you say, it's a very short-lived career, but it's so antiquated in old school in the way that they operate, which is interesting that they're still able to do that. But I can see that the women are starting to, get some ground there, which is fantastic. So tell me, as an entrepreneur, you obviously have some really good and large goals, like we all do, but we all face failure, we all face setbacks. How do you stay motivated to continue on reaching your goals?
Yeah, so it is really a struggle. The fashion has really been difficult, but in a way, I'm just like, well, what else am I going to do? Like, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do it. And every time I put my hand to it, every time I try, a door opens, and it seems like the path keeps going in front of me. So I'll take one step towards my dream, and then another step, and then another step. And I can't always see the path ahead. But, people say, if you knew after 74 no's that on your 75th try, you would get a yes, how fast would you try to accumulate those no's? So, I do, when I experience setbacks and I experience failures, before I pivot or before I try to get back on the horse, I do try to set a little time for myself to mourn and to just feel like down in the dumps. And then I'm like, I'm going to give myself 24 hours, 48 hours, maybe a week. I'm just going to feel it. And then after that, I'm going to just keep going, because what else am I going to do? I don't want to get to the end of my life, and be 80 something years old, hopefully sitting on my deathbed, looking back at my life and thinking, oh, Randi, why didn't you try doing fashion? Why didn't you go sailing on a boat around the world? Why didn't you do these things? What you chose the safe route. And, I felt like my entire life I've been getting to this precipice and then jumping off, and then get to the next one and then jump off, like you take these leaps of faith and you think it's going to end, but it's not. Like, being an entrepreneur is just constantly getting to the edge of your comfort zone and then jumping off again. That's how I feel anyways.
Always. We're always uncomfortable, right? We have to be uncomfortable to keep growing.
Yeah.
Even like doing these videos, Lauren will say to me, Laurie, you need to do another video. I'm like, oh, do I? And it's getting easier now, but I can tell you at the beginning of, putting all these videos together, I remember 5 years ago when I was doing it, I think I took 32 takes to get my first sales pitch together. And then I even had to splice it together. It was absolutely atrocious, but I'm like, that'll do. And I sent it out. But these days, it's a little bit easier. So Randi, you've just launched. How long ago did you launch your new business, Bravo? Is it Bravo X Romeo? How do you say it?
Yeah, so it's Bravo Romeo, but I couldn't get the Bravo Romeo everywhere. So I just made the X be a little silent X. I launched it at actually the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show on board a yacht with a fashion show, which was so crazy because I've been journaling, I journal in the mornings after I do my exercise. And I've been saying, I will have a fashion show on board a yacht. And I started writing that down in September. And the boat show is in October, end of October. And it came so fast and I had almost no time to make it happen. But because of my network, because of my friends, because of the people that I had met, putting myself out there, through uncomfortable networking situations. I hate going to networking events, but I know that I have to do it. I'm a massive introvert, but I just put myself out there and go. And because of that, meeting people that I've met, they really believed in me and we all came together and made this fashion show happen. Also, because of my network through Instagram, Paramount Plus ended up coming on board and filming a part of the fashion show as part of their TV show that'll be airing this summer. So, I was writing down these crazy goals and so many people were like, Randi, that's insane. That's never going to happen. And I'm asking people, hey, do you know anyone who has a yacht at the fashion a yacht at the boat show who wants to have a fashion show on board? And people were like, no. And I just eventually kept asking and found the right person. And they're like, yeah, let's see what we can do. And then it ended up being an official FLIBS, that's the boat show, an official boat show event. We raised money for charity. So that was really amazing. So that's how I launched my fashion brand, was at the boat show with like 34 pieces and Paramount Plus filming. It was amazing.
That is
That
amazing.
was October, this past
October. Okay, so like 5 months ago or so. And of course, when you're reaching out to people, hey, can I use it? You don't know all these people, right? You're just like, you know what, I'm on a mission. I have a dream. And if I don't ask, I don't get. So I've got sweaty palms, but I'm going to text anyway.
Yeah, it sounds insane, but wouldn't it be fun if we did this?
Yeah, I love it. And all you need is one yes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that be afraid, like Mel Robbins says, be afraid and do it anyways.
That's amazing. So tell me, right now, you're probably in the process of trying to scale your business. So what are some strategies that you're putting in place, I guess, to get broader exposure, but also increase your revenue?
Yeah, so some of the things that I do and that I've been working on over the past year is because I do know how to do every part of my fashion business. I know how to do the pattern making. I know about fabrics. I know how to drape, sew, do it all myself. That to me was really important, to be able to know how to do every single part of my business, just because of like a bad experience that I had in the past. Not everyone has to do that. So right now I'm trying to leverage, like, if you either have time or money, and you have, a finite amount of time in the day. So I'm working right now with 2 different factories on manufacturing my goods, my designs. And now I've got it down to the point where I can do a drawing and then hire a technical designer to make the technical design of it, get a pattern maker to make the pattern, get someone else to make the sample. Like, I can do the sampling myself, and I was doing that in the past. But right now I'm going through the process of having them make the sample, send it to me, look at it. So that's one way that I've been able to free up time to spend on marketing, because marketing and sales is actually so much more of the part of being a fashion brand, actually, than developing the collection itself. So that's one way. And my sister actually taught me this with your time and money. She is a high-end, like, luxury home builder up in Canada on Vancouver Island in Victoria, with White Wolf Homes. A few years ago, she had worked her way up from being a dental hygienist to running the entire clinic that she worked at. And she was a single mom at the time. And she told me she had the cleaner coming in, so she had to go out, for a hike with her son. And I was like, girl, you're a single mom and you're hiring a cleaner. And she was like, yeah, but I make, $80 an hour and I pay her $20 an hour. So, it's worth my time to spend that time with my son and, a couple of hours on a Saturday, then spend that time cleaning my house, and it like frees up her brain space and everything else, So I took that lesson, and I've been trying to implement that in other things in my life as well. So the time versus money is a huge one.
It's a huge one. I'm a big believer of that too. So tell me, how did you get these connections, like not connections, but when you're building your team? So you say you scratch down, you can scroll down your design, and then you send it to a technical drawer. I don't know what the technical words are, but how do you find all these people to work for you? Is that through a network, or do you how do you find someone to support you? Because that's something we all struggle with.
Yeah, the person I'm working with right now, over in South Africa, actually came from a mutual friend that I knew, who's doing a different kind of design, but they were using this factory. So it was like a firsthand recommendation, which is always really helpful. And my production manager is incredible. The factory, the ladies who are working, they work in kind of, it reminds me of my studio at my house. You can see like all their patterns hanging there. And they lost a lot of their revenue and a lot of their jobs overseas to manufacturing in China. So America, it's great because America and Africa have this trade agreement to try to, encourage business development in Africa. So, there's really lots of benefits from me having my stuff manufactured there. My husband's also from South Africa, so that really helps. And then the other factory who I'm currently in talks with, I found through my mentor. So that was really helpful.
So basically it's the power of your network again.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I don't like going to networking events. It's very uncomfortable, but you just have to put yourself out there, and everyone's going there being like, I hate this. They have like the little drink. They're like, I hope somebody talks to me. Everyone's feeling that way. So it makes you feel better.
That was me. I went to one recently and I'm like, you can get some water or you could have like another. I'm like, I'll take that drink. And then I'm like, everyone's in their groups. I'm like, I don't know where to go. So it's I'm the awkward girl. I'm like, I'll go over here, buy the food, of course. And I sit there with my drink and kind of like look at people in case they look at me, because then I can talk if they look at me. But it's like as the networking event kind of starts to go to like an hour into it, and everyone's had a drink or two, but everyone's kind of inspired and they're motivated and they want to connect with people. The next thing everyone's chatting, and it's it's a good time. But it's that first kind of hour or so where you're like, I'm like the awkward girl with no friends. I'm just going to be in the corner if you're looking for me.
Like,
and I think I called mum.
Oh,
Mum.
Like,
so
hi.
funny. But anyway, power of networking, amazing. So another big thing to getting to leverage your business is getting exposure and building a loyal following. How has that helped your career? Have you got any specific strategies you use to build it? And how has it helped you by building that audience?
Yeah, so I, the last lady said, I can't remember her name, Joanna?
Jolene, yeah.
Jolene, she said, just get started. And before I even had a product for Nautic Nomad, I started posting on social media. So I started building the online audience, targeting my ideal audience who I would want to use the platform. And that just took really just being consistent. So, consistently posting to Instagram, and things change over the years. And I've really just taught myself how to do things like make reels and post to stories and all of these things that have, become new things to do, but it's a new way to interact with my community. And I think a really big part of building a community is letting them know that they're being heard. So resharing their stories, resharing the things they tag me in, hearing the problems that they're having, trying to meet people where they're at and help them. So I really feel like that's a really big part of it. Like scaling my business is listening to my customers, listening to my ideal audience, seeing what they need, seeing what they want, and, having that open back and forth dialogue. So
yeah, 100%. All right. So we've probably used a lot of time right now. So just before I bring Ashley up here, have you got a specific book that you've read that has kind of inspired you or influenced you in any way? Have you got a recommendation for us?
Yes, I absolutely love Big Magic by Liz Gilbert. If anyone is in the creative space, I highly recommend that you read it. She's the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. So that book is so good for anybody who's in the creative space, because she talks about not making your creativity a slave to your everyday life. Like, she was a bartender for a long time while she was a writer before she got her break. And she always said, I'll always take care of my creativity. So that's also why I do my crew recruitment, because I don't want to put so much stress on my creativity with my fashion to be like everything, and if it does and it takes off and it's like paying all my bills, then great, but I don't want to suffocate it. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, look, Randi, thank you so much for your time this morning. We've appreciated chatting to you. We look forward to working with you a little bit more in the future.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Cool. Thank you.